My friends, the whole church celebrates this beautiful and wonderful solemnity of the presentation of the Lord. What is the meaning and relevance of this feast of the presentation? We will focus on the reaction of Simeon, who took the baby, raised the baby, and then he said, Lord, at last, you have fulfilled your promise. My eyes have seen the salvation that you are prepared for us, a light to the nations, a glory of your people, Israel. And then in the longer form, there is a continuation that says, this child will be the cause of the rise and the fall of many in Israel. And he is the sign that will be contradicted. He was already prophesying, talking about the cross. Jesus was just a baby. And that will be his destiny. He will be contradicted. So, we will go into the relevance and meaning of, very briefly, in 3 points. First, in the narrative of the presentation, we will discover another angle of the person of God. Here, we will see that God is a good artist. He's an artist. What are the principles of art based on the life of Jesus? And then, second, the relevance of this into our lives, imitating Jesus, an invitation for us to create something noble and beautiful. So first of all, we will center our reflection on Jesus. And the first principle of art is this, that art is not what you create. It's what is created in the people who come in contact with your art. That is the essence of art. You know that from any material, you create something that has the power to evoke emotions, the power to transform, and create the feeling of, when people say, wow, the wow effect. If we look at Jesus, God's greatest work of art, his whole life, and especially his death, created an impact. When Simeon was raising him, this baby, this child, his destiny, he mentioned everything there. His life made an impact, very simple life, poor and humble, but it created an array of emotions and series of transformations and conversions from the way he lived. But most importantly, the cross. The biggest impact of his, not really about his life, but about his death, what the cross did to the world, the impact it created, and different levels of reactions to Calvary. That message of the cross taught us how noble the triumph of goodness, the power of good, no matter how small, if you do good, that good will triumph. Second, truth, difficult to face, but there is no other choice. Honesty is the foundation of life and society. Anything that is fake, founded on falsity, will collapse. And you will see that already in life. The power of truth and kindness. Kindness that has the power to change the landscapes of the world. You know, in the world before Jesus lived, in the society where he lived, it was a very cruel. When you're sick, for example, you have skin rashes, you are banned from entering the city. People who are sick stay at the gate. They cannot enter the city. When you meet somebody with infection, you have to stay 15 feet away. And if they insist, they will be stoned. They are not welcome in public gatherings. There is no provision for them. Sick people. People are suffering. But the commandment of love that Jesus preached and witnessed in the cross changed the landscape of the world, especially Europe. Love God, love your neighbor, love the poor. They built schools, orphanages, hospitals. Cities were built, first attending to the needs of the lowly and the humble and the poor. In the midst of trials and struggles and crises and even scandals through the centuries, the church has survived because in situations of challenge, we go back to why we were founded. The salvation of the church is service of the poor. That is how the church was built, on love. There are abuses, there are people who have strayed, but we stick to how we were founded. That's what happened in the 16th century when the church was challenged by Luther because of the abuses. God sent saints like Vincent de Paul, Saint John Bosco, Saint Ignatius of Loyola, Saint Alphonsus Liguori. How did they redeem the church? They started with the poor, the needy, the commandment of love. That was the impact that the cross created, that changed the landscape of Europe. It changed everything was Christian, based on love. That is why Jesus is God's greatest work of art. God is the artist who can create, that will evoke impact and transform people. That is the beauty and the relevance of the presentation of the Lord. That's the end of the homily.